Oh, I remember the first time I got to touch a computer. I was young. I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and a friend who was in college took us to a computer center, and they had terminals. And I sat down, and he said what to do, and it felt like I was communicating with magical wizard, something on the other side. And he said, "Oh, here's all the programs." And then he said, "And some of these programs are games." And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a connection to something that felt like it was magic. And then to think that you could control that magic by learning this language. I bought books and never stopped programming at that point. There's something so intoxicating about having that power. From an early age, I was mesmerized by the word computer, but there weren't really games on computers that I knew of. I didn't really know that computers could even play games until my first experience with them. I always thought computers would do your homework for you. You could ask them questions and they'd answer your history homework. I mean, that was obviously not true at the time. But that's the kind of magic that I thought computers had. When I learned that they could play games, the first game I played was a lunar landing simulation. Just text on the screen. It tells me how high I am and how fast I'm going, and you put in the burn and you hit return, and then it updates another line of text. As soon as I saw that, it was like, wait, there's games. And I didn't know what other kind of games were available, but that alone was enough. And I started making my own games and trying every kind of computer game I could find. There were so many home computers I wanted, but I didn't have any money. I had no money. Let's just say this, I got involved with computers before there were home computers. So I watched as they began to come into the home. But even those computers were expensive and didn't do much, switches that you flick on and off. So I remember RCA came out with a little single board hexadecimal computer, and it attached to a TV. And it recorded software on a cassette tape, an audio cassette tape. So I had the TV, I had the cassette tape, I just needed to buy the computer, and I had to solder it and build it myself. And that was the first one I got, and I was consumed with it. That's another one of those milestones, magical milestones of having all this, what I considered to be the magical device, no longer in a room behind glass and in a raised floor with air conditioning, but I had it at my fingertips all the time. I was never a pinball fan because the mechanics of that seemed not as interesting, but because of my interest in computers, when arcade games, from Pong to Space Invaders, I kept looking at the technology advancing, and my window into it was the arcade. I remember when Battlezone came out. Battlezone was my first feeling of a 3D environment. It's just lines, it's just vector lines on the screen, but it felt like another place, and that added another mesmerizing aspect to the whole world of computers for me. When I first learned basic programming language, I decided I would write a tic-tac-toe game, and you would play tic-tac-toe against the computer, and I remember dissecting tic-tac-toe to find out exactly how the computer should play. But before that, I knew so little about programming that I asked my friend who was taking computer science at the university, okay, so I know how to do a print command, and I know how to do input from the user, and I know how to have variables and give them numbers. I was learning those things little by little on my own. I said, but what's the computer statement in BASIC that tells a computer to think? And he just looked at me and laughed. I mean, I was missing something here. It's like I missed the fact that you don't tell it to think, you tell it every single thing to do. And that set me on the road to, oh, I have to understand tic-tac-toe, very simple game, down to the last detail. And so from then on, I probably made as many games as I played. I did tic-tac-toe, I did a game called Starsky that was driving a car. These were all just text games. I did a game called Swarms, which I entered in a national contest back in 1976 and won. I won a programmable calculator, which of course I programmed games on. And then I wrote, even my first computer, I wrote games for that and got a game published on that. It was just as mesmerizing writing them as it was playing them.